Hi everybody, Burko here again with another pontification. Today's subject, religion. And you're probably wondering, why are you talking about religion when you know it's only going to get you into trouble? Well, that's one of the reasons I think it should be discussed. Because unfortunately, it's one of the biggest dividers, other than politics, that seems to get us all riled up and angry at each other in a state sufficiently willing to kill each other over it. So I'm going to start with my journey, my religious journey. I started off in South London, as you can tell by my accent, and I was Church of England. And my parents sent me to church to sing in the local choir, which was probably not a good idea because I couldn't sing and I had absolutely no interest in what I was doing. It was quite funny, really, because the guy that was playing the organ, who tried to whip us into shape every week on a Thursday, he had these really thick glasses, and we always knew when he was actually going to see who was doing what when he looked over his glasses. So as soon as he did that, my old gums were flapping up and down. I was singing my heart out, which probably didn't help the tunes along the way. I did that for a few years, but then went off into the wilderness and didn't think much about religion at all. Then as a young fella, somebody, when the subject of religion came up, said, "Oh, how about Reformed Afghan Baptists?" So I thought, that sounds interesting. I'll check that out. So I did. And guess what? I found absolutely nothing about being a Reformed Afghan Baptist, not what it was based on, what you believed, what you should be doing, or anything. So I went back to him and said, I couldn't find anything on Reformed Afghan Baptists. He said, well, I'm not surprised. He says, because I just made it up. I thought it was funny. Okay, so much for humour. Back into the wilderness. As time went on, I then decided I was an atheist. Why an atheist? Well, you don't have to do much being an atheist. And it's a kind of a conversation stopper. If someone actually starts bringing up the subject of religion, you just say, I'm an atheist. And even if you find other atheists, nobody knows really what it means. It basically doesn't mean anything. It just means you don't believe there is a power out there. So as time went on and I got more into nature and looking at it, and I thought, I don't know about this. I think there has to be a power out there. So I looked that up. Turns out there is such a thing, and it's an agnostic. And what do agnostics believe? Well, if you look in various books, they'll tell you all sorts of different things, but this is what I believe. There is a power. There has to be a power that has created this planet the way it is right now. You've only got to walk out into nature and ask yourself, how on earth did this evolve without a hand guiding it? Well, I couldn't figure that out, so it made sense to me. So then the next thing you come up with is, well, okay, the power has decided to create this planet, or as I call it, spaceship, but that's for another episode. What's the point? And then, of course, you come up to the eternal question, why are we here? So this is what I believe. And that is the reason we are here is because we are constantly being tested to see if we have evolved beyond being little more than a snail or a slug. So how you treat other people, how you deal with emotions, how you deal with life without going off your rocker, getting angry, hurting somebody. And so in some ways, Buddhism is about as close as I get to that. And the reason I like Buddhism is because, well, what they've told me is we think this is what is the truth, but we could be wrong. And I don't know of any other religion that actually says that. So now we look at my analogy of why we get things so wrong. So my analogy is very simple. We're all standing around a hill, and at the top of the hill is what I was told the truth. In other words, what everything means. And standing around this hill, you can see the truth at the top. But all around the sides of that, you see nature in its different forms. Rocks, plants, animals, birds. And if you're around the other side, you can still see the truth, but there's all the rocks and the birds and everything else, all in different places or non-existent. That's what we focus on. That's what the leadership of religions, organised, man-made, it's always the men, man-made religions, that's what they say. So that's what we focus on. All the nonsense on that 10%. So that's my take on religion. If you've got some opinion on it, please post. I'd be happy to comment. That'll do for today. Ta-da for now.